Hey guys, I'm here for a really fun video and one that I've been meaning to make for a while, but I keep sort of delaying it. It's just I keep wanting to like sleep or to read or to just watch TV, so I'm finally sitting down and making it, and that is my book review of Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This book has to be in most people's anticipated reads for 2017. It definitely was on mine, and I was so excited to read it, and like literally I've seen so much hype about it because like people have been posting reviews since before it came out saying that it was amazing, was great. There's only been like a few really bad reviews, but so many people were hyping this book up and it had like a 4.14 rating on Goodreads, so I was kind of scared going into it. Like I had hoped to like this book, people comparing it to The Night Circus and saying it was a really magical book, and I was so excited, and like oh my god, this book was actually so good. I really enjoyed Caraval. Like real magical aura of this book was just so awesome. Like I loved it. It was just so beautiful and just so many things were happening and it was just so out of this world and just everything was just great. Like I really enjoyed reading this, and it was beautiful. Like it was a really beautiful book, I feel, and even if people are going to be hating on it, I will understand what you're saying, but I really enjoyed this. With this book review, there is going to be a few spoilers just because there's a few things I want to talk about in the end and like sort of throughout the book that kind of shocked me that I just want to discuss with you guys. So if you haven't read Caraval, just know that I really loved it and I hope you go read it. But if you haven't read it, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to leave unless you want to get spoiled. Then stick around if you do want to, but who really wants to get spoiled these days? Because spoilers are bad. Even though they don't disappoint me that much, they're still bad. So anyway, to people who have read this book, hello! So let's get into it. So what I loved about Caraval is it's a story about two sisters. Like you hardly get many stories that are like really sister orientated, more that they're like sisters who hate each other or best friends who hate each other, or just girl relationships just aren't a thing as much in books. Like I love it when I see books that actually have strong female friendships and strong sisterly bonds and just strong femaleness in books, so it's good. So I really like the story being like really more focused on sisters and not on the relationship and not on everything else. I think Scarlett and Tella's relationship was a bit strained though. Like it's obviously the general, you know, older sister and younger sister fight and they always don't get along, but it was normal. Like it was overly completely, they loved each other but they don't absolutely hate each other. So I really like this like feel of normalcy with their relationship. And what the whole idea of this book is with Caraval being a circus that travels around and only comes around once a year, and Scarlett and Tella had always wanted to go like since they were 10 and their mother left them. They've just been wanting to go there for so many years, and they would write and write letters, and like actually in the book it's actually really cool because a lot of it is written like in this letter form. Like there's not like, it's still a normal book, but there's always letters and different things always showing up and like just written evidence to actually show us, so it really makes me feel more involved in the book when I saw those bits. But they wrote every year and he never responded, and when he heard that Scarlett was getting married he decided to invite them, and then they went there and then everything happened and Tella got kidnapped, and then Scarlett only had 5 days and then she had Julian. It's just, it was so interesting having this whole idea of this circus and just how they finally got to go, and then like we didn't know what was going to happen when we went in there, and it was so awesome. And it was more like a magical town though. Like even though it's meant to be like a circus, there wasn't that much actual circusy type of stuff, but it was still really magical. It was more like a magical town book. That with the Night Circus, it's a legit circus that travels around for like 30 years doing all the stuff, so it's kind of different. But I still really did like Caraval. Like I mean, I wasn't really comparing it too much to the Night Circus because like what can you really compare anything to the Night Circus, but I still really enjoyed the elements that were like the magicalness and how like, you know, you got to see to believe, but it's like sometimes what you see is you can't believe, and just how there's so many things that were happening that you would think would be impossible, and it's like no, actually this stuff isn't really impossible. But it's so good. I really did like Scarlett as a character. The only thing that annoyed me was she did get a bit obsessed with finding her sister. Like it was always like every single paragraph, every single sentence, it's like, I gotta find my sister, I gotta find my sister, she's gotta here, and I'm just like, girl, we can understand it, we understand. You don't have to keep telling me that your sister's gonna die and she's gonna not fight. Like it was a bit obsessive, but other than that I thought she was really strong. Like she was really resourceful and was able to figure out the clues that Legend gave her, and well, everyone got the clues, but she was able to figure them out really well, and she didn't always need Julian to like figure it out for her, so she was pretty smart in that manner for being able to figure out this stuff. And she's going along, and then Julian's like, it's not going to be that, and then it is. And she's really brave and strong and really did care about his sister, even though she was obsessive about talking about it, but she really did care, and she just did a really good job in the circus, I think. Tella kind of annoyed me as a character. Like, she was only in the book for like the littlest bit, like at the beginning when she seemed like a person who really likes sleeping with men and being around men. Not that she probably was sleeping with them, but this book is set in like probably like say like the 1800s, like that kind of vibe where you can only sleep with your husband and you can't sleep with anyone until you're with your husband, and having affairs with people ruins your reputation. And like Tella was a bit on that side of things where she was kind of getting annoyed, and their father, like, oh my god, their father, he is an asshole. I hated him. Weird thing with him is like how if one of them is bad, he hurts the other one to hurt the one that was in trouble. Like, what is that? So their father walked in on Tella kissing a man, he would hurt Scarlet to make Tella feel bad. That's really sad too, because like when they are in trouble, they always try and get the other one sort of to say that they're wrong, so then they're not the one punished. Like, it's a very, like, this guy is a sicko. Like, he was a real sicko. Like, I didn't like him and he just freaked me out every time he came on screen. But I feel like Tella's obviously got some daddy issues there, because he was just horrible to her, like horrible person. But in the end with Tella, like, it was so annoying because like everything just went down and Tella's acting all normal, like everything's fine, and I'm just like, oh my god, girl. It just annoyed me that she was so calm about everything, and I'm like, how can you be calm? Everyone is dying, everything is going to shit, I am not keen, everything is just freaking me out. Like, seriously, I'll get back to the end of this book, but it's just like, I really loved Julian. He was so cool. Like, when he came into the book, I didn't really think he was going to be sticking around, but then it was like, oh, he's going to help. Obviously love interest, like bit of insta love between Scarlet and Julian, and it was creepy too, because like you kind of didn't really feel it from him. It's more for like, obviously you don't feel it from here because you're in Scarlet's perspective, but it was like, it took a while for it to actually sort of happen, anything to happen from it, and then it did, and I was like, yes, and then everything went down and he died in the end, and I was like, oh my god, and Tella died, and I was just like, ah. And I just want to say too, like, Legend as the villain, like, he was kind of creepy, like, for the fact that he wanted to keep ruining this family, because like years and years ago he fell in love with Scarlet and Tella's grandmother, and then she turned him down to marry someone else, and now since then he's been sort of ruining the generations of women by like inviting them to the circus and doing really shit things to them. So he doesn't seem like he's a typical villain. Like, he's got his own backstory and he's like, I'm gonna hurt the people that hurt me, and thing that goes on with villains. But I didn't really like him. Like, he was just very creepy, and I'm feeling like in the second book we're gonna actually get to meet him completely, and he's gonna be creepy as F. Like, seriously, I am so scared, but I'm excited for the next book. Now, the thing with this book, right, is like, when I was reading it, I was thinking I knew where it was going to go. Like, they were going to get Tella, they were going to be fine, live happily ever after, everything's going to be fine. But then stuff started happening. Like, the thing that freaked me out the most is when Scarlet's dad and her fiance turned up, and they were just chasing Scarlet, and the fiance was going to like rape her, and I was like, oh my god, no. Seriously, that scene though, when the father's like, you can do what you want with her, and locks them up, and then he starts undressing, and I'm like, oh my god. And then the best bit was that she goes to the closet and Julian's in the closet, and he comes out and he passes out. Like, he was there trying to help her, and then he passed out because he had like a shoulder wound that was pretty bad, but his commitment to her is quite sweet. But every time the father was like chasing them, and I was so scared, and every time she was running to get away, like her and Julian to get away, and then he came back, and then I was just like, oh my god. Like, finally when they were getting close to where Tella was, like, Legend killed Julian, and I was like, oh shit, she's gonna use it, she gotta use the wish, she gotta use the wish to save him. And then she goes up to Tella, and Tella's all doing the bullshit where she's all like, oh, Scarlet, it's fine, Legend is so good, and then like, I've got a new fiance, I've only met a week ago, and then it's like Legend, and then I'm freaking out. Scarlet nearly died, and then Tella jumped off the building and Tella died, and I was like, oh my god, no, no, I'm not okay. It was freaking me out. And then we get to the end where she goes to talk to Legend about the wish, but she doesn't know who to save, and then you got her hugging Tella and brings her back, and then you find out it was literally all a game. The thing is, like, this book totally foreshadowed itself, because it's like, it's on here, see? Remember, it's only a game, right? I didn't even take that into consideration. I'm just like, it's all real, it's all happening. So you find out that Julian didn't really die, Tella wasn't really dead, all these people that sort of died weren't really dead, and it was all a game, and they're all actors, and I was like, holy crap, what the hell, and Legend's an actor, and I was like, what? What? Like, it was such a like drop it under me thing. Like, I could not, I was like, what are you, what? And I was like, oh my god, Julian was faking it, they're all faking it, and they go to a party where everyone's just acting normal in normal clothing, and then, oh, and the bit in the end where she thought like Julian was like working with Legend, like where Julian was working with Legend, and it was like, what is going on? And he's all like, I got you, Scarlet, and then he like dies because he's trying to help her, and then I'm just like, oh my god. But it was so nice at the end when he's like, oh, I actually do love you, so come on, let's do this, like, I'm still like me, this is still me, even though it's acting, pretending to be weird with you, it's still, and I'm just like, I can't, I'm just too much of a mind blown right now to actually accept this stuff. Like how they had this false sense of security that Julian's sister died in the circus and she was meant to marry a guy called Dante who was in the game, and they both came back to play because they wanted a wish, and Julian wanted to bring his sister back and Dante wanted to bring someone back, and then Julian and Dante were working together, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like there was so much of this like holy shit moments in this book because it was all a game, and like I don't know, like it told me from the beginning, but I just didn't expect it to actually be all a game. But I feel like the second book is gonna have some shit go down because Legend actually does seem to be a bad guy because he sent Tyler that note at the end where he's like, bitch, you gotta pay me back for what I did, and I'm like, oh my god, what you do? So I feel like Scarlett's not even gonna be a part of the next book. Like I feel like her story's over now, so it's probably gonna be Teller who's the main character, and I kind of don't like Teller, but I still want to see where the story goes. I'm hoping it's going to be Scarlett and Julian fighting again because that'd be awesome, and we can see more of the world. Like I feel like the world wasn't as developed as it could have been in this book. Like it should have been developed a bit more. Like even though we had this map of the circus and everything, well, the magical town, like that had everything, like that tells you where everyone's going, I feel like they still could have developed the idea a bit more, and why the lands were like how it is in this book, and like where everything's situated. Like they only have a map of the Astro Circus part, so it was a bit confusing with that part, but overall definitely a crazy ending. Like it felt like a plot twist. Like to me it was a plot twist that everyone didn't die and everything was fake and everything, and I was like, holy shit, what is going on? But I definitely really enjoyed this book. 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely recommend that you all read this. Well, I mean, if you're here this far, you've obviously already read it, so I don't need to say that. But guys, tell me down below how you felt about this book. Was it a yay or nay, or just in between? Like, just comment down below and tell me what you think. It'd be really nice. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you later. Bye!